What types of research allow producers to acquire knowledge of the potential audience? There are two types of research, quantitative and qualitative. Quantitative is information about quantities. This kind of research deals with questions such as why, would, or how. This deals with all numbers and numerical based information and data the media company would receive. Quantitative data is used to quantify the problem and getting numerical data. Examples of quantitative data includes program ratings, hits on a website, box office figures, and sales. The results of quantitative data is all numerically based. For instance, 75% of consumers found the product satisfying. The advert got 11 million views during ad breaks. 9 out of 10 dentists would have approved this toothpaste. The other type of research is qualitative. Qualitative data is information about qualities, as it says in the name. The information cannot actually be measured with numbers, like quantitative data is. This kind of research deals with questions such as how often, who, when, and where. A company would use this research to understand why customers behave in a certain way or how they may respond to a new product. It is used to gain an understanding of customers or consumers and their opinions on the product and everything to do with it. It shows a possible problem and could develop into hypotheses for potential quantitative research. There are certain ways of collecting qualitative data like a focus group or an individual interview. There are different types of getting the data. There's quantitative data, which deals with numbers and figures, while qualitative data deals with reasons, opinions, and beliefs. There's different methods of collecting this data, such as primary research, which is research that you do on your own, which includes focus groups, questionnaires, interviews, and secondary research, which is information you get from another source, so websites or books. And once you've collected all that data, you can group the audience in different ways. The demographics, as in race, religion, nationality, age, or gender. Geographics, whether they live in an urban or rural area. Or psychographics, their likes, habits, lifestyle choices. Twin films are two films that are very similar in plot but released by two different film studios. Examples: Madagascar 2005, The Wild 2006, No Strings Attached 2011, Friends with Benefits 2011, Mirror Mirror 2012, Snow White and the Huntsman 2012, Jobs 2013, Steve Jobs 2015, Batman vs Superman 2016, Captain America Civil War 2016. This could be discussed in the market part of the purpose section. They've analysed the competitors and replicated them. Films like No Strings Attached and Friends with Benefits having very similar plot lines, but Friends with Benefits having a high production value and having more than $10 million in budget, meaning that the film was better staffed and had better faculties. But in the end, both movies made around the same box office, so $150 million each, meaning that No Strings Attached got a higher profit margin from a lower budget. No Strings Attached was originally meant to be called Friends with Benefits, but had to change it due to legal reasons. Both films are made by different movie studios. No Strings Attached are made by Paramount Pictures, while Warner Brothers Studios made Friends with Benefits. What companies can media producers work with to find data on the potential audience? They could work with the Broadcast Audience Research Board, or BARB for short. Media producers can work with BARB because it's an organisation that compiles audience measurements and television ratings in the United Kingdom. BARB is jointly owned by the BBC, ITV, Channel 4 and Channel 5 and Sky, and the Institution of Practitioners in Advertising. Participating viewers have a box on top of the TV set which track the programs they watch. They can find valuable data on the potential audiences by using audience measurements, which measure how many people are in the audience, usually in relation to TV viewership. Sky News. Sky News markets itself to people who work in the law, the media, and education, as these are jobs which often require higher education and higher understanding of the political climate and will not be persuaded by a passive audience. Its viewers are comfortable with formal English. Sky News therefore uses formal and complex language, which is kind of elaborated code. This is well illustrated in the news article on the budget. Sky News is owned by left-wing billionaire Rupert Murdoch. He owns News Corp, which owns Fox and Sky News. Fox News is well known for siding with current Republican President Donald Trump. Sky News is the British equivalent to Fox News. Sky is not a standard Freeview TV, so therefore you have to pay for extra, meaning that the audiences of Sky will have a higher income and higher on the socio-economic scale. Sky is not like other news channels where they can be impartial like BBC or persuade the audience to believe in the same beliefs like Channel 4. Sky allow more than one view of an event to be formed, and this suits people who tend to be more well educated, to a degree level usually, and who therefore are usually the type of job which puts them in the socio groups A or B. In terms of psychographics, are achievers, and in addition, these people like to think about themselves and have opinions not pushed on them. The two films I have chosen to compare are 2004 Punisher movie and the 2017 Netflix show The Punisher. Sound. The scene from the movie Punisher from 2004 has a classical opera. This makes it seem lighter and light-hearted and also a bit comedic as Frank is fighting the big Russian and in the other room the others are dancing to the music, and when the song is over, two situations merge. In the Netflix version, the sound of the Punisher fight scene in season 2 of Daredevil has a very serious beat in the background that gets tenser and tenser with the scene. Therefore, the sounds add to the gore and the gory effect of the scene. For example, when Frank gouges the prisoner's eyes out, the sound added to the effect and the gore. The measure of the audiences. Both media texts are still a comic book representation of the Punisher. Both scenes are fight scenes, but Frank Castle is shown a different light in 2004 movie, as Frank is spending the whole fight on the back foot against the Russian, and in a Daredevil TV show, the Punisher is fighting a quantity of people rather than a quality like the Russian. But overall, people prefer the newer version of the Punisher on Daredevil Season 2 and his own spin-off show, The Punisher, as the audience in Netflix has done the character just. Visual. Along with the sound of the movie, the scene is a mixture of gritty fight scenes with a comedic undertone, with the Punisher fighting the Russian, and then the camera keeps cutting off to the other room where the others are dancing about. In the Netflix The Punisher is a lot more gory, with not just stabbings but with eyes being gouged out. The thing that makes this fight scene more impressive is the camera angles and the movements that flow smoothly and amplify the scene's qualities. The narrative of the 2004 Punisher movie. This fight scene is more of a one-to-one situation and is similar to the Daredevil in his own TV show, as he's struggling, but instead of fighting a quantity of people, he's fighting a quality in one person, the Russian. In the Netflix version, the narrative of the scene is that Wilson Fisk is done with the Punisher services and now is getting rid of him by releasing him to the prisoners and leaving him to die. How could the producer find out the product has met the expectations of the intended audience? Well, the producer could do many things to find out if it's met the expectations of the intended audience. He could check the audience reviews. If it's on Netflix, they have loads of different ways of checking. They can check how long someone's watched it, when they've not watched it, when they've clicked off, and they can see how they interpreted with the like buttons and the dislike buttons, and it's a lot easier today on Netflix than it is on traditional cable TV. What are the key characteristics of the uses and gratification theory? The uses and gratification theory is the way that media companies understand why and how people go out to seek a specific media and to fill specific needs. This theory answers the question, what does media do to people? This theory focuses more on the audience than the product specifically, and the audiences are responsible for the media they choose to meet their needs. Teenagers and young adults tend to be more interested in celebrities and their music and movies. One way these days to keep up to date with the favourite celebrity gossip is to buy a magazine. The magazine I've chosen for an example here is Q Magazine. Q Magazine is a great example of how a magazine is a great way to escape from everything that's going on around us and read about what is going on in a celebrity's life instead, and see what your favourite artist is releasing new music and exclusive interviews along with upcoming tour dates. By reading this magazine, you can find out all about the latest news, which can allow you to keep up to date with your friends about what is going on. Readers can get involved in the magazine, advertising opportunities in this magazine. This is a great way to understand how the audience reacts to the product and therefore is a staple of the print media sector. When a customer of Q Magazine purchases the magazine, they allow the individuals to find out what's going on in the celebrities' lives. For example, on this cover, the reader will find out about Liam Gallagher and Ed Sheeran's lives. The reception theory is a theory that emphasizes each particular reader's reception or interpretation in the making of a media text. This theory is normally referred to as an audience reception, which is used as a way of characterizing the wave of audience research. This was first developed in a 1973 essay by Stuart Hall, Encoding and Decoding a Television Discourse. This was an approach to encode and decode the model of communication. In simple terms, the theory states that the media text, so movies, TV, and music, and the meaning is encoded by the producers, and its audience's job to decode the text, and different people will interpret the meaning in their own way, and sometimes, and not always, in the way the producer intended. According to Stuart Hall, audience members adopt one of the following three positions when they decode text. They're either dominant or preferred reading, how the producers want the audience to view the media text, oppositional reading, when the audience rejects the preferred reading and creates their own meaning from the text, or negotiated reading, a compromise between the dominant and opposition readings, where the audience accepts parts of the producer's views but has their own opinions on some of them. What are the strengths and weaknesses of each of these models? The strength for both of these models is the fact that it helps producers and everyone working in the media text get a clearer and better understanding of their audience and how they react to the media. The uses and gratification theories are better at understanding why audiences go out of their way to seek a certain type of media, and media producers can research that and apply it to make their own media text more attractive. The use and gratification can help lure in audiences who do not consume the media they produce. This is a great way for new audiences to, because if a media company cracks the code, they can get potential audiences that would not normally go out and seek this media text. The producers of Love Island could attract audiences that would not normally watch the show by understanding what makes the audience go out and seek a show and apply it to Love Island. The fact that the uses and gratification theory helps attract potential audiences, the reception theory does not do that. The reception theory does not attract new audiences and relies on their current audience and how they interpret the media text. And if someone does not want to watch the show, then they will not be persuaded to watch the show, and that negatives the show. For example, if somebody was opposed to Love Island, the reception theory wouldn't persuade them to watch it. The reception theory only helped the media producers understand their current audience. The fact that the reception theory does not attract new audiences means that it is good at understanding the current audience and how they interpret the media text. Like mentioned earlier, the reception theory states you are either preferred, oppositional, or negotiated reader. If the media producers understand what makes each reader, they can work towards it. For example, if someone was opposed to the show Love Island and was an oppositional reader, the producers could work towards understanding why they're against it and how to make the show more suited towards them, without changing too much to the point where the preferred readers didn't enjoy it anymore. The uses and gratification theory is not very good at understanding the current audiences. It does try to understand current audiences, but is not its main priority. The uses and gratification is better suited towards attracting potential audiences, so media producers couldn't use the theory to understand their current audiences. The debate is always reported on the news is the fact that games are bad for children. Because the violence in games might affect the kids to become more violent, one media outlet, the Huffington Post, states what is behind the power of gaming, especially its effects on developing brain. Kids experience first-hand role in killing process. They measure success through killing, they disrespect women, they have inappropriate sexual content, resolves conflict through violence, desensitized and explicit content. Whether you're for or against the debate, there has been no solid scientific evidence against this case, so this debate still is ongoing. But a case of a man in Norway in 2011 named Anders Breivik killed 77 people and injured 300 in the deadliest event in the history of the country. Reports primarily politically motivated, but in an interview he tried scapegoating games like Call of Duty, and another instance of someone scapegoating a media product is when a man named Nathaniel White, who beat and murdered 6 women in the early 90s, blamed it on Robocop 2 instead of games. In most cases of does video games cause violence, there is little to no evidence that there is a direct correlation between playing violent video games and committing violent acts. A study from the University of York had a series of experiments with more than 3,000 participants. The team demonstrated that a video game concept do not prime players to behave in certain ways, and that increasing the realism of the violent video games does not necessarily increase aggression in game players. With movies, there is the same argument with is the violence in the movie scenes being replicated by young, impressionable kids, and even some adults. People who are fascinated and excited by violence and other crimes gravitate to particular types of programs and games and immerse themselves in them, some for hours each day. Their absorption with violence reflects their personality rather than the medium they consume. Genre. The show that I have chosen is BoJack Horseman. BoJack Horseman is only available on Netflix streaming services, since it's a Netflix original show. Netflix are only accessible through devices with internet connection, so you can watch on your smart TV, phone, laptop and or tablet. This is important to the product because unlike conventional cable TV, the producers of the show can not only check how many people are watching it, but how they perceive it with the like and dislike button. The producers can also check other more detailed stats like how long someone watched an episode and when they stopped watching it. The character BoJack Horseman does exploit some technological advances by being called one of the most complex animated characters ever created. The whole way of animating the show is different to other shows, as animating style depends on the animal the character is. The codes and conventions of the show could be dealing with being depressed, struggling with alcohol and drug abuse, bad childhood, and lack of friends. The fact that being depressed, alcoholic, as the main character actually works and makes the show quite successful. Narrative structure. The show is very much a multi-strand story with 2 or 3 different stories happening at the same time. For example, the main character BoJack Horseman could have a strand where he is acting on a set, and in the meanwhile Todd is off doing something stupid, and then in another strand happening at the same time would be Princess Carolyn wanting to be a mother. So it's very much a multi-strand show. It has an open ending as it is a TV show and is still running and hasn't fully ended yet, but when it will, I am sure it'll have a closed ending. It's a non-linear show as there are lots of flashbacks and flash forwards and whole episodes dedicated to the past. For example, they dedicated an episode to BoJack's mother's life. Like any good show, it contains enigmas that they'll show something happened to BoJack Horseman at the start of the show, and then they'll have a flashback, and the audience will want to know how it happened, and it'll explain it later. Representation. Bustle.com said in an article how BoJack Horseman depicts depression more honestly than any other TV show. And that's true. Most TV shows do not do very much justice to depression and other mental issues, and the fact that a cartoon that represents it very well. In addition, the depression and addiction is a very common thing today, and especially going through what BoJack has gone through. He's a washed-up celebrity with unloving parents, no wife, no children, and throughout the show, his actions only amplify his depression, with making his younger co-star overdose and almost be with an underage girl. All of these situations are very real, with the show not shying away from it. From an animated show with half its characters being an animal, it conveys its message and social issues better than most live action drama shows today.